Avoidants don't do well with compliments. They don't do well receiving or giving compliments. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but as a whole, they tend to really struggle when it comes to compliments, especially if you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant that leans heavily dismissive. There are reasons for this. First and foremost, they associate compliments with being vulnerable. Because when you're giving or receiving a compliment, it is naturally a bonding activity. It's a thing that brings people closer together. Compliments of each other's partner in a relationship naturally helps and boosts emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy equals vulnerability. And for an avoidant, vulnerability and emotional intimacy feels very unsafe to them. They feel safe with emotional distance, not emotional closeness. Even though at some level deep down they crave love and intimacy frighten them to their core. It is what triggers them. It goes back to their childhood. This is a person that received consistent childhood emotional neglect. They were not given love and nurturing in the way that they needed. They had parents that were stoic, that didn't give compliments to them. They were never shown how to receive compliments, and they were never modeled the behavior of giving compliments. It's foreign to them. It feels unnatural, and it makes them feel vulnerable. They were never able to get close to anybody as a child in an emotional way. Closeness feels unsafe. They had to learn it all on their own. They personalized that lack of love and nurturing too, by the way, growing up to feel defective, unlovable, like something's wrong with them. And that's why vulnerability feels so unsafe, because their subconscious fear is if I let down my wall, my partner, especially if this is a good partner, is going to figure out that I'm defective, that I'm worthless and unlovable, and I'll get rejected, I'll get abandoned. So they keep this person at an emotional arm's length to feel safe, to feel protected, so they don't feel like they're about to get exposed and rejected. Compliments bring people together. Compliments bring people closer. So expressing those feelings, expressing those compliments especially, feels way too vulnerable. But receiving them feels vulnerable too. But also when it comes to receiving compliments, there's the additional factor that the avoidant doesn't believe it about themselves. Deep down, there is a low self-esteem, a lack of self-worth. This is a person that feels defective and unlovable. So when you're giving a compliment, their thought process is, well, oh, you think that now, but wait till you figure out that I'm not so great. Wait till I inevitably disappoint you. You're going to be so disappointed because you're going to figure out that I'm not very lovable, etc. And no matter what you say, no matter how you compliment them, no matter how many reassurances that you give them, you could even tell them that you love them unconditionally and will never change your mind about them, and you can genuinely mean it. But in their mind, when you say that now, but I'm going to disappoint you and you're going to figure me out. And they just dismiss your feelings about them because they feel that your feelings about them are inaccurate, not valid. And it comes from their own lack of self-worth, their own low self-esteem. Because think about it this way, a person with a truly good sense of self, a person that recognizes their own self-worth, would not be afraid of being vulnerable and close to their partner. No, those walls are up due to a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-worth. So if your avoidant partner or your avoidant ex struggles in the compliment department, giving or receiving, understand it comes from their insecurities, their fear of being vulnerable, and their lack of self-esteem. It doesn't mean that you aren't worth complimenting. It doesn't mean that they're not worth being complimented. It just means that this is an insecure person that doesn't feel safe communicating, especially about emotional matters.